industry-led body, government supported to double that turnover to 30 billion in the next 10 years, by 2030. The exciting thing for primary agriculture is that most things you can see there, apart from the seafood, primary agriculture is involved in either producing the end product or the raw material for things like the distilling and brewing industry. It's hugely varied. You've got the meat and livestock sectors, fruit and veg, cropping, arable, cereals, dairy. What we do, it's a key player in the supply chain. The world population is expected to grow by 2 billion in the next 30 years. There's a huge opportunity here, but we can't do it all on our own. And primary agriculture is supported by a huge service sector. So we have agronomy, we have science, we have nutritionists, a huge amount of backup in behind the scenes. We're lucky in Scotland to have some of the world-leading research and development institutes for food and crop technologies. We can also be a solution to climate change in the future as well. There's a lot of pelters coming in at the moment. Farming is to blame for a lot of things, but in Scotland we're actually quite an extensive system, and there's real opportunities to prove that this type of agriculture in Scotland is a solution to climate change if done right, and the systems that we use in Scotland. About 70% of the land in Scotland can't be used for crop production, but it's very good grass growing. This is just a projected skills demand for the next 10 years, carried out by the SDS last year. And the top level just shows agriculture, forestry and fishing. Now, there's going to be about 700 jobs contraction, mainly due to technology and systems becoming more efficient over the next 10 years, but we're going to need to replace 8,600 workers who are leaving the industry due to retirement or natural wastage. So that's going to create 7,900 jobs in this sector alone over the next 10 years. So it just shows what a gap there is, and we really need to up our game. I've plagiarised the Lantra diagram here because I couldn't find anything better, but this just demonstrates the variety of jobs within the livestock and the arable sectors, and the huge variety of options for people coming in at the bottom. Quite often, if people are leaving college, leaving school, they come in at farm level, but there's so many career pathways once they start. You know, dairy, you can become a nutritionist, you can work on the farm, sheep, research technicians, beef, procurement, marketing. Down in the arable side, it's not just working on the farms, it's the soil science side of it for the research, agronomy, sales. So there's a huge variation. And the routes into agriculture, depending on qualifications and what way people want to go, as mentioned before, the pre-apprenticeship is now an entry-level option for people, which I'll talk about in a minute, for school leavers, not generally from agriculture, but it can be too. We need transferable skills. That diagram on the top, the three pictures I'm sure are very familiar to parents in the room here. It can be frustrating, but those skills, because of the technology involved in agriculture now, we need those. It's the world we live in. This is an example. This farming simulator game was launched last year in November. Within 10 days it sold 1 million copies. So it's quite frightening. Now what we want to do is try and transfer some of the bums on the simulator seats into the farm seats on tractors. Why? Because technology and data is key to our industry now. That has been driven by the shortage of labour, and it's getting faster and faster. On the arable side, on the cropping side of farms now, GPS technology is used day to day. So these machines, the combine harvester, you're talking nearly £500,000 for that and the tractor below. It needs technically minded people to operate these now, well-trained people. Precision farming makes our systems more efficient by saving fertiliser, seed, by placing it where it's needed. A lot of arable farms now are mapping their fields which allows them to then put that information into their machines so they can yield map the crops on the fields, they can spread fertilizer when it's needed, and when it's not needed, it leaves it alone. Drones are used now in agronomy companies now to get a picture of what's happening in the field. So all these tools are key to making farms more efficient and keeping up with demand, and therefore increasing yields. On the livestock side, electronic tagging and weighing of livestock is used. That data is key. This picture here is not very clear. This is one of our pre-apprentices on a livestock farm near Duns. That weighing equipment is now key to their management of the farm. The sheep run through there. They've all got electronic tags now, and that data, they're weighed, the information goes back to the farm office, and that gives them information they can use for monitoring and planning when those lambs are ready for market or for their breeding programmes next year, what sheep are performing, what ones are. That bit of kit is worth £17,500 alone, so there's some serious investment in this technology now, and it's key that we're getting students coming through the system that understand this and are willing to learn that. So what schemes are out there at the moment? Machinery rings in Scotland, there's a pilot running at the moment called the Land-Based Pre-Apprenticeship Scheme. This was run on a 4-year pilot by Ringlink, machinery ring up north, for 4 years, and we were lucky enough last year to get it recognised as a pre-apprenticeship qualification, and it's now been rolled out in Scotland through the rings and Tariff Valley in the southwest. And there's a 3-week induction, so it's for 16 to 21-year-olds, 3-week induction. In the Borders, we've partnered up with Borders College and SRUC. They go down to, the students go down to Bayne College for 2 weeks, and it's a 6-month work placement. So the training is all front-loaded, so they're ready to go into the workplace after their 3-week induction. So it's a residential course for 2 weeks. They go through intensive 4-day tractor driving, forklift, emergency first aid, health and safety. They also carried out industry visits. They're out on the farm, and they're out on the college farm down at the Bayne campus as well. In the Borders, the first week is actually in the Borders. They release into the campus at Newtown St Boswell's. They do classroom situations as well as farm visits out on the farms. On the 4th week, they start a 6-month work placement. So the machinery rings are involved in identifying mentor businesses who are looking to support the scheme and bring young people into the industry. Through Borders College, we run a 1-day mentor workshop to make sure that the businesses are ready for the youngsters coming into the business. And they get various training while they're on the job in 6 months as well. So the Scottish Government funding covers the training and the 3-week induction, and also additional training that's relevant to their work placement, going through their 6-month placement here. Last year, that's the numbers there. So we had 43 placements in Scotland in the current year. Next year, subject to funding, we're looking at bringing 60 new pre-apprentices into the industry. So 10 in the Borders, 12 in the southwest Tariff Valley, 10 and 28 up in the Highlands with Ringlink. These are some of the figures from the pilot 4 years up in the Ringlink area, which shows the progression of the pre-apprentices. So 53% of the candidates were offered jobs on the completion of the 6 months on the mentor businesses that they were in. 82% completed the scheme. 28 progressed to further education, so it's a stepping stone to a modern apprenticeship. We've got 4 candidates in the Borders this year, and 3 of them look like they're going to stay on and do MAs at Borders College next year, which is really encouraging. One looks like he might go on to further education at SRUC and do an HND or a degree level after that. So it really does provide a stepping stone. One of our candidates this year did have the qualifications to go straight to SRUC and do an HND, but he actually wanted to come in and learn while he was learning the practical experience on the farm before he went to college. That is an overview of what we were doing with BMR and the pre-apprentices and the agriculture sector.